Hello, Anna. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay today. I didn't sleep very good last night. Was woken by a couple dreams. But other than that, I'm doing good.
You think you had the dreams because of what you experienced in group yesterday?
I think that was a trigger. Yes. I had a dream about shooting up.
Okay. Well, it's normal when you're in recovery, okay? And you're actually clean and sober. You start having dreams again, okay? And when you're not using, okay, it's normal. How did you feel about group yesterday?
I felt that group went well after it was all said and done. Um, Initially, I was really nervous to get up there and just talk about the incident, talk about my father. I'd never shared with anybody that kind of information. But after it was all said and done, I felt better to get it off my chest, but it did make me anxious a bit.
Well, it's understandable. That was a lot. I mean, when we did your initial assessment, you didn't disclose that to me.
Yeah.
And this is the first time you've shared this with anyone.
Exactly.
So, and how did it make you feel when Linda broke down and shared that something very similar had happened to her?
I just could feel her emotions just because that's happened to me, and hearing her say something similar, I could 100% understand where she was coming from. And the girls at the club have had some of the similar incidents happen to them, and so it was very familiar to me, just her feelings and her story.
When we did your initial assessment, you started using alcohol very early.
Mm.
Did you start using after your father did this to you?
I had partied. I'd gone out and partied with my friends. I drank alcohol before. I'd gotten drunk before. But whenever it happened, whenever my father did molest me, I would say that it got worse, the alcohol intake.
Okay. The, so often when we use, okay, we want to numb
Mm.
those negative feelings, those negative emotions, the things that just make us feel icky. Um, that's why we go to drugs. You know, um, when you used heroin, you didn't feel anything, did you?
Nothing.
Nothing at
And
all.
that's what was so great about it. I could just feel a release from everything, my life.
Now, one thing you haven't really talked about is your mother. You've kind of you've talked about a lot of things. What was your mother doing when these incidents happened with your father?
Drinking, um, obviously not tending to what I was doing or what my father was doing or what my father was doing to me. She was more than likely drunk because she does have an alcohol problem, and I thought that she was there for me at the time, but looking back on it, she just wasn't, because she could have stopped that. But instead, she was caught up in her own bottle, her own can of whatever she happened to be drinking at the time.
This is the first time you've really talked about that. What were some of the things that happened that really made you feel bad about your mom?
I would say just the fact that she tried to hide her alcoholism. My dad was more open with it. He would just come home drunk and yelling and belligerent, and with my mom, she would just hide it. And I felt that that was just like her way of thinking that I don't know. To me, it felt like she was thinking that she was better because if people didn't necessarily know she was drunk, then she would look like a better parent or that we would look like a better family. I mean, I would know that she was drinking just because I wasn't stupid, but I would find her empty beer cans in couches, in the pantry, under her bed, you name it, there was hidden beer cans, but you would never actually see her with it in her hand drinking it. And every time she would open a can, she would cough at the click of the can so she could hide it more, but she wasn't hiding it. I knew what was going on.
What about your brothers and sisters? Did they know too?
Yeah, they did. We all knew.
Okay. Now with your own children, how do you feel about them being in CYFD custody?
It honestly makes me feel like a piece of shit because I'm putting them through the same thing my parents put me through, and I feel that that's unfair. And whenever CYFD took my kids from me, I was pissed. I hate CYFD, and I thought it was completely unfair. I'm their mother. I should be taking care of them, not some people that don't even know them, don't know me, don't know anything about the situation. They're taking care of my kids. But since I've been, coming to see you and talking about things, I do realize that they have a reason for taking the kids away from me. They're protecting my kids from myself, from the harm that I was doing to them.
You've made a lot of progress since you've come into the program here. You should be real proud of yourself. What you're experiencing and what you've learned is all you. What you do with this knowledge, okay, what you've learned here, it's entirely up to you what you do with it. Period. You have to make the decision that you want to stay clean and sober. You have 3 reasons. First and foremost are your kids. But without you having that desire, it's not going to work. You really have to want it. I know that you broke probation. You were dirty on your last urinalysis. Okay? But when you first came in here, you even told me that you were just here to go through the program, But now how do you feel about being here?
Well, I feel that I have made a lot of progress, and it makes me feel good, but I'm not proud of myself. Just because with the not doing drugs, not drinking to cover up the pain, it's just out there. It's like I can't numb that anymore, and just hearing it out loud doesn't make me feel proud at all. It makes me feel horrible. Just replaying the things that I've done in the past, things that I've done to my kids, done to myself. I've constantly put drugs in front of my kids, alcohol, men before my kids. I just feel like a terrible person, and it's a bad feeling.
You're not a terrible person, okay? You have nothing but the future ahead of you. The past is the past. It can't be undone, okay? You're only 26 years old. You have a whole life and future ahead of you, okay? You can, from this point forward, when you get out of treatment, you can write a whole new story. Your stay here is very short, okay? What we want to do here is the team, okay? We want you to get 1 or 2 concepts. I want to plant 1 or 2 seeds that are going to sprout and germinate, and I hope that it keeps you clean and sober. You know, because addiction is a progressive and fatal disease. You know, how many people that you have known have died because of an overdose? How many?
Too many to give you a number right now. A lot. I've seen a lot of lives destroyed, and I've seen a lot of deaths.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the first things in AA is that your life has become unmanageable. You know, what have you lost because of your addiction?
A lot. Everything. I've lost my kids, which are number one. I've lost my pride. And I've lost my beauty, and not in the sense of just physical, but my inner beauty. And I've lost friends. I've lost, you know, the relationship that I could have had with my siblings, and there's a lot of things that the drugs and alcohol have taken from me, and that I've let them take from me.
Well, you're still close to some of your siblings. So, you getting back out there, you know, walking your new path, you know, you'll be a glowing example for them. You know, you'll be a glowing example for your kids too. You know, when we talked earlier, you told me about that you wanted to go back to college. Okay, that you were super good at math. You know, have you thought about what you'd like to do in school when you go back when you go back home?
Well, I have a little bit, and just from previous desires as when I was younger and what I wanted to do with my life. I mean, I've always been kind of interested in accounting.
Now, accounting, that's something I couldn't do. I was terrible at math in school. I hated it. But you like numbers.
I do.
That's
something I can say I'm good at.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. What are some other things that you're good at?
Well, I always liked to read in school as well.
What did you like to read about?
I liked science fiction books.
Okay.
They were my favorite.
What kind of stories?
Gee, I don't know. I can't exactly think of one off the top of my head right now.
Did you like the futuristic stuff?
Yeah, I did. That caught my interest. Yeah.
You think that, you know, reading is a wonderful escape from reality. Do you think that might be something that you could go back to? That might be a good escape for you instead of going out and using?
I think so. It's gonna be hard to work up to that, obviously, but I think that could be an option in the future.
Now, how do you feel right now about your father? You know, I know he's in prison. You know, after going through the group experience yesterday, you know, I did ask you to write a letter. You know, but how do you feel about your father now? Tell me what's going on with him.
Well, he's in prison. I mean, I haven't had contact with him. I'm still really angry with the things that he's done to me, and the things that he's put me through, and the life that I have created because of the things that he's done to me. I'm not happy with him, but I can't say that I hate him. I'm just really angry.
Now, how bad is his illness?
It's bad. He'll probably die in prison. Um, I probably won't get to see him again. I'll probably won't get to say goodbye. And I don't know if I want to say goodbye to him, actually. Even if he was out of prison. It's just hard.
I can understand that. It is very hard. Would you like to read your letter that you wrote to him to me?
Sure.
You feel comfortable?
I think so.
Okay. Once you get it.
Okay. Dear Dad, today is your birthday. As much as I try to let this day pass without thinking of you, I fail. Every 12th of January, I again feel like a failure for not being able to forget your birthday. I already have to remember you by. I have scars on my body from your belt and what you did to my body by taking my innocence. I have scars on my heart, mind, and sense of self-worth. Why do I have to remember you each time and every year? Why did you hurt me the way you did? What gave you the right to violate me? All I wanted from you was your love. All I wanted was to love you in return. What the hell was wrong with you? What kind of person could do those things and find enjoyment from it? What kind of father could do those things to their child? What kind of person were you that you could inflict such cruelty? I have tried so hard to hate you, but I can't. I have tried so hard to convince myself that I no longer love you, but again I fail. I have tried so hard to have an agnostic opinion of you. On a basic level, I still love you. Maybe that's because I was never able to let go of the unconditional love I had for you. It is easy to love unconditionally, so why was your hate towards me so easy to express? There should have been no greater form of unconditional love than a parent towards their child. What was your major malfunction, fucker? As bad as you hurt me so many times, I still would never want to see you suffer. I hope for your sake that there is a God, and if hell exists, that you had the time to ask God for His forgiveness before you die. One of my greatest fears is that you have spent the last 14 years in the midst of God's punishment. I probably should find comfort in your potentially and likely eternal punishment, but I don't. I feel bad for you in so many ways. I am sad for you. Dad, do you understand how it is possible for me to still care? To this day, I have tried my best to forget the feelings of your hands, fingers, and lips on my body. I have tried to forget the scent you so often had on your breath, and how the liquor which caused that scent was so often used as an excuse for your behavior. I have tried my best to stop loving you and turn that love into hate. Well, it is because when I became your little girl, I truly understand what unconditional love is. I understood then, just as I do, that unconditional love is unlimited love. It's love without conditions. Dad, I want you to know that I forgive you for all you did to me through those years, but I will never be able to forget. I pray that you had the time to ask God to forgive you, and that your pleas were out of genuine guilt instead of fear. That being said, I want you to know that I hate who you were and all the cruel things you did to me, but I am incapable of hating you. Still, if you made it to heaven through the forgiveness of God's grace, I hope that if I am graced to make it to heaven when I die, that I won't recognize you, because you have no desire because I have no desire to see my molester, torturer, rapist, or my dad ever again. Happy birthday, Dad. I miss the person I needed you to be.
It's very powerful. How do you feel? How did you feel about writing that and reading it right now?
Reading right now, it's hard just to hear it out loud. But it's good. I feel like that this right here did a lot for me, just to get it out on paper of what I would say to him, what I could say to him. It made me feel better.
Well, yeah, you did say it to him. You did say it to him. Don't have to send that to him or anything, but just putting it down on paper, you can release some of that pent-up feelings and emotions of what he did to you. You know, do you feel that this is the main reason why you turned to drugs in your heart?
Honestly, I feel like it's a big reason, yes.
Well, would you like to let go of all that?
Yes.
Let's try this. Let's put the letter up. And just drop it in there. How does that feel?
Feels good. I just wish I could burn him.
No?
No.
Like I've told you before, there are no right or wrong answers or responses when you're here. This is the safest place you're ever going to be, because we're not going to judge you. Okay? We're not going to hold you accountable for anything. You can talk about anything that you feel that you need to get off your chest. Now, you know that you're going to be released in a couple of weeks. How do you feel about that?
So nervous. I'm scared that I'm going to be released and go back to the same way that, as much as I don't want to, and as much as I have that drive to feel better, or to make my life better, to make my children's life better, and to get my children back, I'm just scared being on my own again without the structure that I'm going to go back to using.
And that's what you're afraid of?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the biggest influence for triggering you to go back?
A lot of it has to do with peer pressure.
Okay.
I haven't wanted. I don't want to go back to the club. Just for the simple fact that I didn't like my job, and the majority of the people that work there are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and I feel that me being around that, I'll just give in right away. It's the first time somebody asks me, or the first time somebody's doing it in front of me.
Well, one of the big things, you know, we've been going to the AA meetings and the NA meetings. You know, how do you feel about getting a sponsor? You know, that's one of the important things. You know, as soon as you get out, getting a sponsor and start going to meetings. How do you feel about that?
I think that would help. I mean, even though it would be myself volunteering for that, but I think having that guidance from somebody else outside of here, that it would help me stay sober.
Okay, what other things do you think that you can do? Do you like the relaxation techniques that we've shown you? Do you think that's something that you can use?
Yes. I never really had those kind of techniques to use before. I didn't really know how to deal my stress, my emotions, and I feel like the self-care tips and the relaxation tips have helped me, and I plan on continuing to use them outside of here.
Well, peer pressure is a big thing for relapse. You know, a lot when you get back out there, a lot of your friends, they're not going to necessarily respect that you don't want to use anymore. Okay? They're either going to do it consciously or subconsciously. You know, because they're jealous of your sobriety. You know, they will say, well, here you can do just a little bit. Or they'll say, well, here's just a little something, it won't hurt. You know, what are you going to do in those situations? What do you think you can do? What if they come over with a six-pack and sit down? How do you feel that you can handle that?
I honestly don't. I know how I can handle it. I don't know how I'm going to handle that situation. It's going to be really hard to say no. I would just, I mean, I think for me, I can say that I can just, I'd get up and walk away or say no thank you. But having them look at me and say, oh, come on, or something like that, it's going to be really hard for me to say no.
What I found during my own recovery, okay, I had to totally disassociate myself with those people that actually used. I couldn't be around them anymore. It's been over 20 years, and I still think about going back to using. Okay? Recovery is a lifelong process. You know, addiction is a progressive and fatal disease. Okay? As soon as you use for that first time, since you've changed the chemistry in your brain, and you've seen the videos about that, okay, as soon as you go back to using, okay, you'll go back up to the same level and amount of drugs that you used prior to getting clean and sober. And especially with heroin, if you're used to doing it several times a day, you know, when you're clean and sober, you go out and use again. You know, many people die of overdoses. And you've done such a great job in this program so far. And again, like I said, you need to pat yourself on the back. I feel very good that you're going to be successful when you get out there. You know, everyone in the group, all the staff, they've seen you open up and change. When you came in, you were very closed. And now you're like that rosebud that's just beginning to open. You're a beautiful person, Anna. You know, you have so many good strengths. I mean, when you drew that picture of the turtle the other day, that was marvelous. You know?
I've always really enjoyed art also. That was fun.
Well, we're going to end up now. Is there anything pressing that you need to get off your chest that you feel that you must talk about?
Well, not anything necessarily pressing. I hope to get my kids back. And I hope to get them back sooner than later, to where this separation between us, it's not going to affect them so much. I still want to be their mom, and I still want them to think of me as their mom, and hopefully not remember the bad things that I've done to them. I know they've let me talk to them as much as possible, and that's been really nice, but I can't wait to have them back in my arms.
Yeah. And you've shown me the pictures. They're little cuties.
Yeah.
You know, especially Junior. He has those big blue eyes.
Yeah.
So.
The darling.
Okay. Well, we'll get together next time I'm on shift. That'll be this Sunday.
Okay.
And we'll talk some more.
Okay.
But you have a lot to be proud of. You're making great progress.
I'm trying. It's hard.
I know it is. I know it is.